Welcome to the Medicaid Service Tracker training for personal care aides. If you are new to Medicaid billing, please go back and view the Medicaid Personal Care Service policy video before continuing. The policy video describes what personal care services are, who can record them, and how to be Medicaid compliant. The policy video can be found on our webpage at www.risa.net under Administrative Support. Every month, you will need to fill out a monthly service log. These service logs are the official documentation as to which services you provided for each student during the month and must be kept on file in your special education office for 7 years in case of a state or federal audit. At the top of the log is the list of Medicaid billable services for personal care with its corresponding number. First, you'll need to fill in the month and year and the name of your classroom teacher. Then list all of the students that you are providing services for, not just the Medicaid eligible ones. We ask that you do this because of privacy and HIPAA laws, and so your Medicaid eligible students aren't being signaled out. Also, a student who is not Medicaid eligible this month may become eligible later in the year. In the body of the log, fill in the number associated to the service you provided for the student each day of the month. If you're providing more than one service, pick one and stick with it throughout the month. If you or the student happen to be absent, leave the box blank for that day or enter an A for absent. At the end of the month, make sure to sign and date your log and have the designated person, either the classroom teacher or a licensed practitioner, depending on your district's instructions, sign and date as well. After transposing your log into Service Tracker, make sure to send them to your special education office for safekeeping. Please remember your logs are not valid or Medicaid compliant without both signatures. In order to log into MISTAR, you will need your district's web address. Most districts have a link to MISTAR Q right on their district's webpage. If your district's website does not have a MISTAR Q link, you can type your district's web address into the address bar. If you don't know your district's web address, check with your special education office or classroom teacher. Your district's web address should be similar to the one displayed here. When you enter the web address and launch the MISTAR application, you will see this introductory screen. From here, you can click on the MISTAR Q tab. Once you launch the MISTAR Q application, the login screen will appear. Here you can enter your MISTAR user ID and password. To enter your user ID, type in your last name, comma, space, and your first name. Then enter your password and click on the login button. If you don't have your password or can't remember your password, please contact your IT department for assistance. Remember, passwords are case sensitive and you should never share your login information with anyone else. The first time you log in for the day, you will be required to enter a verification code. This verification code will be sent to your district email address. Enter the 6-digit code and click on the login button. Let's go ahead and log into Service Tracker. Going to click on MISTAR Q. And then I'm going to enter my username, last name, comma, space, first name. And then I'm going to enter my password and click login. If you notice it didn't ask me to enter a 6-digit verification code, this is because I've already logged in once today. Okay, this will take you to the MISTAR Q main page, and to get to Service Tracker, we'll have to go all the way over to the left to the menu bar and click Menu, Programs, and then Service Tracker. So let's take a look at the features of the main screen. The first section contains the service dates. It will automatically default to the current month and year. In order to change the month you need to bill for, simply click in the drop-down box next to the month and year and select the month you need to enter services for. Next is the legend. The legend describes the status of the services you enter. Yellow is open, which means you've started entering services for the month. Green is ready to bill. Once you've entered all of your services for the month, you'll mark them ready to bill, which tells the system we can pull those services in and send them to the state for billing. Blue is billed status. Your services will turn blue or billed status after we pull all the ready to bill services in and send them to the state for billing. Pink and red represents the student's attendance. Pink indicates that the student was partially absent for that day, and red indicates the student was absent the whole day. Also, the system will mark any holiday or non-school days with a light gray color, and you will not be able to record services on that day. Finally, if a student's personal care services do not start until later in the month, the system will black out the days before they start, and you will not be able to add services for those days. For example, if a new student has an IEP on 9/21, their services wouldn't start until after September 21st, and you would not be able to record services from September 1st through September 21st. The last section of this screen is the service data information. All of this information is pre-filled for you, and you will not have to fill in any of the options. It includes your practitioner type, 125 personal care aide, the reason for treatment, which is the reason why the student is receiving your services, needs assistance with personal care, your personal care procedure code, and then treatment response. Let's go ahead and add students to your caseload. To add a student to your caseload, you need to click on the Add Student button in the middle of the screen here, and it brings up a pop-up box. Here, you can search for the student by their first or last name, or you can click on your school track, hit search, and it will list all of the students who are available in your particular school track, and you can select them from the list. It does take a little while to populate because it is going to list all of the students in your school track. If we want to, we can still add the first couple letters of the student's last name and click search, and it'll bring up all of those students whose last name starts with those letters. Then from this list, I can select the student I'm looking for, click on the right arrow, and push them over to the selected students box. I can either hit clear or click in the last name box and type in the next student's last name and hit search or hit enter. Here's my next student. I click on their name and push them over. Then I can type in the next student's name and hit search, select them, and push them over. And do this for all of the students who are going to be on your caseload this year. If you notice, the student's eligibility is indicated next to the student's name and their identification number with the red asterisk. This lets me know that these are all Medicaid eligible students that I'm putting on my caseload. When I'm done and I have all the students listed who I'm going to provide services to this year, I click the submit button, and the system will tell me that it's going to add 4 students, and that's correct, so I hit OK. Okay, now all of my students are listed below. If you look, we have some options to the left of the student's name. The first one is this box with a red X. What this box will let me do is if I've made a mistake and added a student who I'm really not providing services to this year, I can click on this box, and if you hover, it tells you remove from caseload. That's exactly what it does. If you click on the box, it tells you click OK to delete the student from your caseload. So if you're sure, you click OK, and that student is now no longer on my caseload. This box will only appear before you start entering any services for the student for the month. If you've already entered some services for the student, you will not be able to remove them using this box. Next to that, you see this red piece of paper. This is the attendance for the student for the month. If we click on it, a pop-up box with their attendance will appear. This is important because we want to make sure that all of the days that we have marked are marked in red, and they come in here and they tell us for each hour of the day for that student if they were absent or not. So this student was absent on the 7th, which is indicated by the red here under the 7th. They were absent on the 11th, which is also indicated by a red box underneath the 11th. And then on the 27th, classes were not held. So that box is also red, student was not here. For this student, if we click on their attendance, those boxes are in pink. We want to make sure that the student was in attendance at least a part of the day so we can record a service for the pink boxes. If we look on the 15th, they were present and then they left early. On the 27th, classes were not held, but they were present for 2 of those classes. So we know we can record services for the pink because they were here at least part of the day, but we don't record services on the days that they were fully absent, which are indicated in red. Next to that is the student's eligibility history. And if you hover over it, it says Medicaid eligibility. And if we click on that calendar, a pop-up will show the Medicaid eligibility history for this student for the past 2 years. If there is a Y underneath the month, they were Medicaid eligible. If it's blank, then they were not Medicaid eligible for that month and we would not record services. We close this box by just clicking on the close button. And then we have the student's name, their date of birth, and their attending district or their attending school, and that they're enrolled in the special ed program. Okay, since we deleted one of our students, if we look here on the menu bar, we see we have updates pending in red. It means it's asking us to do something before we can move on and record services for the month. And what we need to do is either reset and bring that student back because we really should have them on our caseload, or hit submit, completely deleting them from our caseload. So I'm going to hit submit. Okay, now it tells me my updates have been saved and we're ready to move on. So to record services for the month, you can either click on this box next to eligibility and select all of your students and mark services provided for the month, or you can do it one student at a time by selecting that student. So I'm going to show you how to record services for all students for the month. So I'm going to click on the box and make sure all my students are selected. Click on Mark Services Provided. And now if you notice, a Y was put into each box for every day of the month. Since my students were absent on the days where the boxes are red, I want to take this Y out and not record a service on that day. So I'm going to click in the box and delete the Y for all of the red dates. Now, when we clicked on this student's attendance for the pink boxes, it tells us on the 15th that they were present, and on the 27th, they were also present part of the day. Since they were present for at least 1 hour during the school day, we can go ahead and record a service on that date. So you want to double check your attendance, make sure everything looks good. We've unclicked all the days that there was a box with their red where they were absent for the whole day. The pink days are okay. They were here at least part of the day. So now it tells me updates pending. We can either reset or submit. So I'm going to submit. Now, if we look at our legend, yellow tells me that I have an open service for every day that's yellow for each student. If it looks correct and I'm all done, I can now mark all of my services ready to bill for the month. So I'll click in the box to select all of my students. And the only option that I can do now is ready to bill. And it asks you, do you want to make all of your services ready to bill? Click OK, and I do. So I'm going to click OK. 3 students have been processed, OK. And now my services are in green, ready to bill, and I've completed all of my billing for this month. Now, if I've made a mistake and I've recorded a service on a date that I was absent and I forgot to unclick the box, If I click in this box to select all of my students again, I can undo Ready to Bill. So if I click on this and I click OK, it tells me it's undoing 3 students. So I click OK. Now I'm back to my open status. So when you're in open status and you've made a mistake and you've recorded a service on a day that maybe you were absent, so let's say I was absent on the 14th, I can click, if you notice we have a new option here next to the attendance. There's this box. If I hover over it, it says delete service records. So let's click on it and see what it does. What it does is you can remove a selected service and it lists all of the dates that you entered a service for. So if I want to remove the 14th because I was absent that day, I can click on that date and click remove. And now you notice that went back to white, its original status. So I'm going to go ahead and click on delete service records for the second student. I'm going to select the 14th and I'm going to remove a service from that date because I was not here. And then the last student, I'm also going to click on the 14th and remove status. And so now it's back to its original nothing white box. So now my services are still in open to bill and it tells me I have update pending. So what I need to do is click in this box and select all of my students. And I want to make my services ready to bill. So I'm going to click on the ready to bill button again. It says OK to mark services ready to bill for selected students. I click OK. 3 students have been processed. OK. Now, if you notice, all of the services that I provided for the month are now ready to bill, except for the attendance where the students were absent all day. They're still in red to let me know that they were absent. And then on the 14th is blank because that was a day that I was absent and I don't want to record a service on that date. So now I'm done for this month. I can move on to October if I want. So to move to the next month, we'll come up here to the month and year. We'll select October. And now, if you notice, today is October 9th, and we only have until October 9th available to bill on. It won't let you bill ahead, so you can either wait till the end of the month to record all your services, or you can come in here and you can do it daily or weekly. So if I want to mark the first week with my services, I can click in each box that I provided a service on and put the Y in, or I can select the student and mark services provided and it'll automatically fill a Y in for me. Or I can select all my students, mark services provided, and submit. And it will make services open for this current month. Now, you can either wait till the end of the month and make them all ready to bill at once, or you can click on it and you can make these ready to bill now. So after the 9th, when these dates become available, I can click in them and record a service, and then I'll make those ready to bill also. These will stay in ready to bill service for me. I don't have to wait till the end of the month to do that. If I want to undo ready to bill, I can select the student I want to undo for, click undo ready to bill. If I've made a mistake, and click OK. And they'll go back to open status. When they're in open status, if I've made a mistake and recorded a service on a day I shouldn't have, I can click on the delete service records button, which is a piece of paper and a magnifying glass. I can click on the dates that I did not want to record a service on and click remove. And now they're back to the plain status and I can start all over again. Okay, let's go back to September. At the beginning of the school year, if you notice that you have students on your caseload from last year who you are no longer providing services to and you want to delete them from your caseload, you can click on this Edit Dates button. If you've already started recording service in that, you can click on the Edit Service Date button. And you can tell the computer what dates you want this student to be on your caseload. So first example, if we want this particular student to only be on our caseload in September, we can tell the computer, click on the calendar, pick September 1st through September 29th, and click Save. So maybe this happened to be a student who we only saw in September, and then they left the district. So if I enter their dates, they show up here under dates, September 1st through the 29th. If I go back to October, that student is no longer there. They're off my caseload. So let's go back to September and clear out the dates, put the student back on our caseload. And I'm going to make this student, I'm going to undo their ready to bill, because this student was from last year and I don't want to record services for this student. They were on my caseload last year and they still show up, but I'm not providing services to them anymore. So I accidentally entered services for them. So I'm going to remove all of them. Remove. So now there's nothing recorded for them. I can either click the X to remove them from the caseload, or I can enter an end date. So if this was a student I saw last year, I'm no longer providing services to them. If I come in here and I click on the calendar and I haven't seen them since June 30th, I put their end date in and click Save. They will no longer show up on your caseload. So they're gone. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to select October, mark services provided. The students were not absent any of those days. Everything looks good. I have updates pending, so I need to hit submit. So now my services are in open status for October. I want to make them ready to bill. So I'm going to select both of my students again. I'm going to click on the ready to bill button. I'm going to click OK. It tells me it processed 2 students. Okay. So now my services up through October 9th have been marked ready to bill, and I'm all set for this month for now. Once the month or the week has completed, you can go in and finish marking those services and make them ready to bill. So if you realize you have another student, you can always add them to your caseload. So if you click on Add Student again, type in their last name and select them and push them over and hit Submit. It says 1 student added. I'll click OK. Now this student is on my caseload. But if you notice, there's no calendar for eligibility. It means that this particular student is not Medicaid eligible and they have never been Medicaid eligible. If a student has been Medicaid eligible at least for 1 month during their enrollment in your school, that calendar will show up. And since this student is not Medicaid eligible during October, I don't need to record services, so I'm just going to delete them and remove them from my caseload. Okay, and then in November, when November comes up, you just click on the calendar, you'll select November, and then repeat the process for all your students. That's all that we have for you. Well, thank you for watching our video. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact our office at any time.